throughout my whole life. The Holy Spirit has talked to me, and He has showed me things. Sometimes I wanted to hear what He had to say, and sometimes I wouldn't. And there was even times when I would tell Him, I don't want to know, or leave me alone. Then I would cry and say, no, please, God, don't leave me alone. Because I always knew that I needed the Holy Spirit with me. I got a call from this lady many years later. After I moved home from Atlanta, I lived there for 19 years. It had been probably 25, 30 years since I'd actually seen her. I got a call from her at my mom's house one afternoon when I was there. And she said that she was washing dishes, and the Lord spoke to her and told her to come and pray with me. And I never turned down prayer, even if I wasn't living where I needed to be. At the time, I was going through the hardest thing that I'd ever dealt with in life. And I had been under doctor's care for approximately 7 years. So I didn't turn down, and before I knew it, she was in my mom's home, and she began to prophesy over me and tell me how that God was seeing me and what I was fixing to go through, but that He would be with me and that He would not leave me. After that, for about 2 months, I was in my mom's home again, and I got a call from the same little lady. And she told me that she was putting clothes in the dryer, and that God spoke to her and told her that I needed to go to a certain church, that there was a man there that I needed to see. So what did I do? I went to a friend's house who was not a Christian and wasn't raised in church, but she loved me very dearly. And I looked at her and I asked her, I told her what the lady had said to me, and I asked her if she was me, would she go? And she said, yeah, Anita, I believe I would go. So I thought, and I told her, I said, I got these flip-flops on, and I can't wear them into a church. So I remember her going through her apartment and bringing me a pair of tennis shoes that her mom and family had left there. And I got dressed, and I figured, well, I'm going in late, so it ain't gonna matter. And I was opening the doors at the church, and right as I stepped into the sanctuary, the evangelist looked at me and he said, you think you're late, but God said to tell you you're right on time. And everybody in the church turned around and looked at me, and you just kind of know me. I kind of just froze. And he said, Sister, I've been seeing your face all day long. And he said, will you step forward and let me pray with you? So I took a deep breath and I started walking toward him. And I felt self-conscious because I had on my blue jeans, and I noticed that this was a Pentecostal church and everybody had on dresses and buns on their head. And as I walked forward, I could see that they were looking at me. And when I got to the front, this evangelist who I'd never met before in a church that I had never been in before began to tell me about my life and what I had been experiencing. There's no way he could have known it because only my doctor knew. And you could say I was a little freaked out and a little bit of doubt even though I know that there's no way that he would have known the things from my childhood and the things that I had faced lately and was going to face. He began to tell me about the nightmares that I'd had all throughout my life, throughout my childhood and my adult, about the nightmares that haunted me to where I was afraid to lay down and go to sleep at night. He began to tell me that I wouldn't have any more nightmares, that God was placing angels over my eyes. So he asked me, did I believe him, or was I still having doubts about him? And I shook my head yes, that I was. And he looked at me and told me that God wanted me to know that the shoes that I had on my feet were not my own. So at this point I knew what was fixing to happen. And he looked at me and asked me, could he pray for me? The only way that I've ever been able to explain it, as if I was standing up, but if I was laying on a copier, and you know how the lights go across and they come back slowly. I felt this spirit, because I knew what it was, but I felt it just like that. It ran down my complete body to my feet. And as it come back up, I felt a warmth, like a thawing out feeling. And it came all the way back up till it reached the top of my head. While he was praying for me, at this point, I fell out in the spirit. And I know that I was healed from the inside out that night. That was my encounter with the Holy Spirit.